Do you like love? Are you a night owl? Then Late Night Love is a place for you. Since life is negative enough, here we discuss everything love. What we love, who we love, and why we love. So join us on Saturday nights at 11:30 p.m. Pacific Time, and please remember, love everybody.
And welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us down another excursion through. See, now you're looking at me like that. You threw me off.
Excursion down the river of consciousness, consciousness called Late Night Love.
Okay, we're going to redo that intro because I screwed it all the way up from the very beginning. I actually screwed up. I didn't stop because I still haven't remade the intro to reflect the new time. All right, so let's try it again.
Okay.
Welcome, my lovelies. Thank you for joining us on another excursion down the stream of consciousness towards the river of love.
Yay!
Or something like that. This is going to become a thing every day. I swear to God, whether I can vamp this opening or not, because I'm never actually going to write that.
Well, we don't do that here. We don't write stuff out.
Scripting? You want me to actually script something? Blasphemy. Blasphemy. No, not really. I don't mind scripting. It's more fun doing it organically. And speaking about kind of fun and organically, we had a daily dose, I think it was yesterday, on romance. About romantic dates. And we wanted to start, and we wanted to have that, and we wanted to do
a discussion
about that. But first, before we do that, we're going to play it for you. Okay, Lubby, what do we have today?
A romantic date's important.
Depends how many crime movies you watch.
Hey.
Well, I suppose it depends on the relationship. Is romance in your relationship important? Yes, it is. Are romantic dates important? Depends on your version of definition of dates. Some relationships don't need romantic dates. They fulfill that romance. They get that fulfillment in other ways. But other people have a higher need, have a different need for. I don't want to say this.
Well, I think it's a little more heavy-handed. A little more leaning towards the saccharine side of it. Every once in a while. Be a little sappy.
Yeah, but see, being unsappy, it feels forced and unnatural, and you don't want to be what you're not, from my perspective. And I can only speak for myself on this one, because I swim in the dark often on this one. But you can only be yourself, and if you're being phony, then you're not being yourself. And so if you're
just to set the record straight here, you do have your moments.
Yes, I have my moments, but
I am not romance devoid. I am not romance needed.
Yes, but none of it fits into a normal romance category.
No, it's not normal. It's you.
Yes.
It's uniquely you. And I think that's something that I missed when I was younger. I had a set idea of how romance should go. And when those expectations were not fulfilled, I was left with, okay, what's really going on here? Because obviously this person felt for me. I wasn't paying attention. These little things, they build things for me.
Yeah, well,
and I'd have a problem and they would fix it.
Yeah. Well, that's
by
part of
building stuff.
Yeah, but that's part of the. When I say it depends how many crime movies you watch. That was kind of the reference, is that some people have a version of romance that is unrealistic. It's from books or movies or TV, and it's not the real romance. And sure, you can have those moments, you can have those days, you can have a romantic trip and a romantic vacation, but that's not the daily grind of romance.
No, you do well at fitting little things in all day, a couple times a day. Little things, little touch, a little comment, a kiss, a smile.
So we're going to wrap this up with romance is definitely important in your relationship. How your individual relationship achieves romance, it all depends upon how you love each other. And that is your daily dose of love.
All right, so that was yesterday's daily dose. And it brings up the question about exactly what is romance.
Yes, that would be my question to you.
Because it's an open question. I think romance is an individual question. I think is kind of the problem many of us face is that we view romance as something that you can actually paint a picture of, or you can have expectations created from other people. Let's say societal expectations of what romance is. The candlelight dinner, the walks on the beach, or whatever the stereotypical romance is. But for most people, that's not what's romantic. For most people, it's the daily grind that's romantic. It's the little things in life that's romantic. Sure, those things are nice. They're nice special occasions, and no one wants to say that they're not romantic. But when it comes down to it, do you want this, the candlelit dinner and the moonlight walk, or do you want the daily romantic grind? Which ones are more important? And
I'll take the daily little tokens of love because they get me through the day. And they make me feel connected to you.
I mean, I suppose it doesn't have to be either or. I mean, it's not necessarily an either or question.
Well, you bring me flowers sometimes. My birthday, I get flowers. You do romance on special dates.
Well, we do romance our own unique way. And actually, in a sense, that's the point, is we don't do it in a stereotypical way. We do it in our own unique way. And so when you're talking about romance, especially we're going to stick with talking to young women here because they're the ones, and men, I guess, talking to the other side, because they're the ones who don't seem to get it. They get the romance from the movies and the TV and kind of the superficial romance from, talking. They don't have enough people telling them what about the day. Real romance is the daily grind.
Real romance is the day in, day out.
Is treating you nice even though they've had a crappy day. How romantic that actually is. Right? You've had
my heart sing.
You've had a crappy day, but yet you're still managed to come home and be nice and pleasant and kind to the person you love. I mean, that's romance. That's sticking your crappy day behind you and being present for the people who need you. That can't think of anything more romantic than that. Than to kind of put a bad day behind you and be present for the people in your life. I mean, there's nothing more romantic than that.
That requires real effort.
Yeah, the real hard effort, the hard work of mental effort, not the physical effort or stopping by, remembering to order flowers. I mean, that's real.
That's kind of easy.
Yeah, that's kind of the easy way out. The real romance is the daily grind. It is when you don't feel like doing something, you shut up and you do it with a smile on your face anyway. That's romance. For me, that's romance, is the willingness to kind of go that extra mile even when you don't want to, because you love the other person that much, and it makes them happier than it makes them more happy than you miserable, so you do it. Them being happy is kind of, in a sense, maybe even helps you not be so dang miserable from your bad day.
Yes.
And so maybe it's not entirely selfish, but you don't think of it that way. That comes later. That's a side ancillary benefit. So
bringing a smile to their face, that always lights me. It makes me light up.
So, I mean, if you've had a bad day, sometimes the best way to get around it is to, go out and do something nice for somebody.
It's not easy, but it's easier when it's the person you love.
Yes.
So, be a little romantic, but be careful about what romance is. It doesn't have to be big, huge gestures, especially now. Many of us are hurting economically, and a romantic date may not be in the cards. You may live in a place that's locked down, or you may not have the financial means for it, but it doesn't mean you can't be romantic.
A night out stargazing is just as romantic to me as, some dinner in a 4-star restaurant.
Oh, if we had lived up up near Oregon, we would have gone out the other night and gone looking for the Northern Lights.
So did Tara.
Yeah, did they see any?
No.
Yeah, well, but that's romantic. You go out at midnight or whatever, and you go looking for the midnight to 3 a.m. and go looking for the Northern Lights. Yeah, it's a romantic thing. No, I wasn't going to do it down here because the chance of us seeing it down here, we're going to be slim and none. But even though we were right at the edge of the viewing line, but theoretically,
really?
Yeah, but you're wrong about how strong they were.
Yes, the atmospheric conditions were not conducive to a strong showing of the Northern Lights the other night.
No.
Yeah.
But it was, it's possible. It's kind of neat. It doesn't happen that often where it gets down this low. Of course, if it gets down this low, it means the sun's angry. That's really what it means. It means the sun's getting angry. The sun has had a bad day 20 minutes ago or 2 days ago. I forget how long that stuff takes. It takes longer than you think, but not as long as you would imagine. It's a strange thing, the source of lights and particles from the sun. Anyway, that's above our pay grade here. We're not astrophysicists. We're life, love, and relationship talk show hosts. It's not the same. Yeah, it's above our pay grade trying to figure out what light particles are, and how fast they travel from here to the sun. I forget, it's like 20 minutes for light, even though it'll take centuries for the light to get from the sun to the surface of the sun. It takes like 20 minutes to get from the sun to here, something like that. Anyway,
that's impressive.
It's a strange thing. Well, yeah, apparently they don't get a straight path out the sun. Who knew? Particles of light. Anyway, we've gone way off of our topic here. I'm not sure how romantic particles of light are, but having a discussion about particles of light, if you are both into particles of light while you're standing out there looking for the Northern Lights, it may be considered romantic in context of your relationship in the course of times. And so,
depending on what your interests are, it depends on what you would do.
Yeah, the thing with romance is when you find somebody who is your match, you find you're generally going to have the same things romantic. So it's one of those things that, as a rule of thumb, solves itself. If you and your partner have vastly different views on what's romantic and what romance is, or what your romantic needs are, you're going to have a tough relationship. But yet, if you both have a similar views, it doesn't have to be same, just somewhat similar, that they can kind of grow together rather than grow apart. It's so just be careful when you're out there and you're talking romance. When you're thinking about romance, be careful where your perspective comes from. Make sure it comes from your heart and your wants, needs, and desires, and not what you see other people do, not what you're expected to do, not what you think they should be done. Romance is what fulfills you, what gives you a smile, what puts bounce in your heart. That's romance. It's not a candlelight dinner and a walk on your beach, unless that's what puts a bounce in your step and a song in your heart and makes you go all fluttery. So it doesn't matter what it is, just whatever it is, do more of it. I think if there's going to be a
My heart goes fluttery when you bring me milk. It was in our early days of dating, and I was broke, and you brought me milk and gas money, and you said, I want you to remember this. And I never forgot it. And it still makes my heart go flutter today when I hear I brought you some milk.
See, romance is a strange thing. It's fulfilling what somebody needs is romantic. And if it's a quiet dinner alone, or if it's a, gallon of milk, it doesn't matter what it is. It's as long as it's fulfilling. And I think that's when we discuss here, that's what it is. It's understanding your perspective, being mindful of what you need, what you want, what your partner needs and wants, and then doing your best to meet those needs, your own and your partner's. That's how you get a good life. There's no secret formula. Unfortunately, we can't tell you to do A, B, C, and D and go off and you'll be great. That's not how life works. You've got to find your own A, B, C, and D. But we can tell you there's some perspectives and mindsets that help you figure out what your A, B, and C, and D are. So once you figure those out, then the rest becomes much easier because you're starting to ask the right questions rather than, do we need to have romantic dates? Well, before you figure out if you need to have romantic dates, you better figure out what you guys find out is romantic so you're not doing the wrong thing.
Don't have a disconnect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not doing what you think is romantic. You're doing something that's actually is romantic. You're not doing what society tells you is romantic. You're doing what your partner, well, in the long-term view, has romantic. Because a candlelight dinner may all be forgotten soon enough, but 10 years later, you still remember a gallon of milk. And that is a lesson to be learned from all of us. And I just think there's lessons to that. There's lessons. It's a little grind. Okay, so enough about that. We're gonna talk that. We're gonna talk that thing into circles if we keep going any longer.
Yeah.
What you got over there?
Well, I looked in this holiday season, everybody's having a hard time not connecting with family and not doing their regular holiday activities. So I found an article. It's from Real Simple, activities to have during the coronavirus.
Okay, let me bring that up over here.
Now, this is winter. First comes winter activities. You can enjoy the outdoors. You go sledding. Make snow angels is a good one. And stargazing, here again, that's where I got stargazing from. And I know, this is a good one. I know families, they get their sock drawer and they they bundle up their socks into balls and they put them in a basket. Everybody has their own socks. And that's how they have their snowball fight. They have an indoor snowball fight with their socks. So you can have an indoor snowball fight.
We just use pennies, but.
Pennies. Okay, let's see. You can get a taste of winter. Everybody loves their hot cocoa. And this suggests make baked apples. That's a very Christmassy thing to do.
Okay, well, it's just interesting because I know a lot of us, we'll come back to this in a second. A lot of us are having our Christmas traditions are interrupted. I know ours are this year. We usually have a big, huge family get together and chaos and wrapping paper everywhere with children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren and the grandmas. And it's a big chaotic affair, but it's also kind of a wondrous affair. And we don't get to have that this year. So I think everybody's missing that. And it's not just us. There's lots of people have decided that, we're going to be more careful this year.
Yes.
Whether your personal views on that or my personal views on that are not relevant. A lot of people are have decided that they're going to be careful. We've decided we're going to be careful. We didn't need anybody else to tell us to be careful. We as a family decided we're going to be careful. And so we're not going to have our normal Christmas tradition. And that's 2 traditions we've lost this year. We didn't get our family
Thanksgiving.
I was thinking of the camping trip this summer. We didn't get our camping
Didn't get that's 3 things.
Yeah. So, we've all kind of lost out on some of those family traditions, and it's starting to take a toll on many of us. And as these next 2 weeks to Christmas, I'm not feeling very Christmassy. I know sometimes I don't get very Christmassy up until the last week or so.
You do, until the last minute.
But I'm really not. I'm feeling less Christmassy than most Christmases this year. But we're so isolated, and that isolation, that feeling of isolation, and how do we combat it? I think there's a sense is you try to maybe take some better control of it. I think maybe that's what this list is kind of trying to help people do, and say, look, we're all going to suck, but let's make the best of it. In a sense, it's like the romance discussion. Try to make the best for your family and put a smile on your face, even though you don't want to do it anyway, and try and have some fun. Make the best you can, because it is what it is.
Go out there and make the magic happen.
Yeah. Or stay at home and make the magic happen.
That's what I mean. Well, this article covers things to do at home.
Yeah, well, to do at home, it doesn't matter what you choose to do. We're all having our lives interrupted, even if we're trying not to. It's just, even those who are trying their hardest not to are still having their lives interrupted.
Yes.
And so, it doesn't really matter what your view on the situation is. We're not going there here. So whatever it is you want to do, however it is you view of this, there are still things that you can do, because people around you are going to make different decisions, and you have to honor those decisions. We have to stop with this people who view the world differently are somehow less moral or less human, or we've got to stop that. People have different risk profiles. People have different wants, needs, desires, and it all comes out differently in the end. And so, many of us are going to lose our Christmas traditions this year, and that's okay. We can pick them back up again next year. It's not the end of the world, but we can make the best of it.
Yes, we can.
And I think this is a way for some people, and there's people out there making lists, trying to help people make the best of it. And I think we should thank people for at least giving the effort. What the heck is Frulus for living?
I don't know.
I can't even pronounce that.
Let me see what it is. Instead of going, you might try frugally. It's the Scandinavians, particularly the Danish. I'm half Danish. Definitely have it right with their hygge. Enter free loose live. It means free air life. It's a concept that's part of Norwegian culture, where people get out into the forest, hiking, canoeing, camping, great outdoors, great out in the air. Out into the air.
Well, yeah, but the Danes are more, well, of course, it depends where you're at. I mean, if you're in one of those places where it's freaking snowing, it's going to be kind of hard to do that unless you're really hardy. And we're from California. It gets 40 degrees and we're cold. So
really? Yeah, on this list is make snow angels, which I always loved to do as a child, but gosh, it's cold.
Okay, so let's see if we can get to this. We've got half an hour to cover.
Okay, wait a minute. I was in a Taste of Winter, and they suggested to make and enjoy eggnog. Make your own eggnog.
Why would you make eggnog to begin with? I don't even understand how people can drink that stuff.
Well, I love eggnog. I've never made it, but I think I'm going to try this year.
I think y'all are crazy.
It's very good.
No.
Some people put brandy in it, apricot brandy. I
No.
used when I used to drink. It's been 31 years since I've had brandy, apricot brandy, in my eggnog. But there you have it.
No eggnog. Eggnog is gross. I mean, you can eat eggnog. Don't get me wrong, but I just don't understand the appeal of eggnog. But hey, I don't understand the appeal of lots of things.
Okay, you can also make some wintry crafts. Okay, the classic is the gingerbread house.
Uh-huh.
And my favorite is to cut paper snowflakes. I haven't done that yet this year. Cut paper snowflakes and tape them up in the dining room window.
Well, I guess if you're in a city, especially down here in California where people are still walking around and it's still warm enough for people to walk, putting up window decorations is actually probably a pretty good idea. A way to spread a little Christmas joy and a little Christmas cheer. I mean, especially if you're like us and you don't do Christmas lights, a lot of people do the Christmas lights, and so they still have their thing. I know my mother, no one's coming over to our house this year. She still went full decoration on the whole inside of the house and the whole outside of the house.
Well, yeah, it's Christmas.
And so, she wasn't going to stop that tradition. She was going to keep that one going. Which I appreciate, because the people outside, lots of people come by and view her house, and it's kind of a traditional thing. So she was able to keep that part of the Christmas tradition alive. I mean, she once got an award from a certificate or something.
Oh, very cool.
It's not an award, from a retirement community, because they enjoyed walking around and seeing her house. And so one year they gave her a certificate or something. But these kind of traditions can still go. But if you're like us and you don't normally do those kinds of things, or you don't have the resources to drape your house in lights, putting little decorations and stuff in your windows is probably a good idea. Give the little kids who are walking by something to look at. It's helps you, help them, gives you something a little positive to think about, positive to do. You're trying to do something for the kids.
Yes.
Maybe it's a good thing.
Bring a little cheer as people coming to your door.
Bring a little cheer as people walk by. And, maybe I might have a different perspective, because our window is like 2 feet from the sidewalk. And so people can easily see what we put up in our windows. Other people's houses are farther back. Might have a different perspective on that. So I always seem to forget that not everybody has their windows like right there. We're like right there on the street. There's no way around it. If anybody sees the windows. So, but there's all kinds of things you can do to put up little displays for the kids, change them.
And another one on this list is to make a bird feeder out of pine cones, peanut butter, and birdseed. Now, this is something to do with you can do with children, and put it up out for the much needed care of the birds in the winter. And you get quite the show with the birds coming after your seed.
Do we get birds here in the winter? We don't get much. When we get us crows.
There are birds.
Or the blue jays. I guess we get blue jays.
We get blue jays.
Blue jays and crows in the winter. We don't get much in terms of the little birds. They go away. I don't know where they go, but they go away. They go down south and then to LA.
LA.
I don't know where they go, but the birds go away in the winter out here.
Okay, you can also enjoy some much needed self-care. Now, I like this one, cozy up by a roaring fire, indoors or outdoors. Outdoor fires are great.
Well, yeah, if you live in a place where you can do them. I mean, if you're in a urban area, you can't really do that.
But you can burn your favorite scented candle.
Mm-hmm.
And let's not forget cuddling up with a blanket, a cup of tea, and a good book. And this is my fan favorite, spending the day in your PJs.
Uh-huh.
That's my spend your day in your PJs. Just it changes your whole perspective.
Yeah, well, I think now during this time of COVID and all it, self-care is actually a very important issue, and we all should be taking care of back. And we will talk more on the second side of this break. We will be right back. I need a soda. Hold on. Oh. Warm it.
Is it too hot?
Yeah, there's another one. You can turn it down one notch. There you go. Okay.
Are we back?
Well, we never technically left.
We never technically left. Okay, the next.
Wait, hold on. We're going to bring us back in from the commercial.
Okay.
Go. And okay, thank you for rejoining us. I do want to take this minute to point out that for those of you who would like to help us on our journey, you can join our Patreon community at patreon.com/late night love. For as little as $3 a month, you can talk to Lubby on the Discord server, all the way up to $20 a month, where you can have early access, I think a monthly Q&A, and then you can get access to my private Discord channel because I don't have the chat time that Miss Lubby does over there. She's the chatter. I have other things to do. So that's her job. Mine is to do this, is to sit here and look pretty on camera for all of you.
With the hair.
Oh, I should take my hair down today. Your daughter said my hair looked great today. Even better than usual, she said.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she did. Just saying.
You and your hair.
Okay. I got great hair. What do you want from me? Okay, so what we were talking about before we left, I forgot already.
Well, we were talking about things, fun winter activities to do during COVID.
No, we were talking about self-care before we wanted to switch off. That's what we were.
Yes, we were talking about self-care before we.
I wanted to sit there. We wanted to cover self-care for a few minutes before how important self-care is at this time, because it's very easy to let yourself slip. Even things like showering as often, because you don't need to as much, right? If all you're doing is sticking around at home, you can't go to work, you can't really do anything, you don't really get dirty, so you say, okay, so I don't need to shower today, I didn't do nothing, I'll take a shower tomorrow. And then tomorrow becomes Thursday, and then and that's it's very easy to slip on those kinds of things. And in a sense, it's not necessarily the end of the world, but it can feed into a cycle of you not taking care of yourself. Being lazy on taking a shower can slip into being lazy on eating properly, or being lazy on stretching, or doing whatever exercise you can manage, or whatever it is, whatever your self-care routine happens to be. If you let part of that slip, especially now, it's very easy to let more of it slip. And so many of us are kind of losing our energy. We're losing that. I'm not entirely sure what to call it. We're losing that something that holds us up. It's been so stressful for so long, on top of the normal stresses of life. Not just the normal stresses of life. You've got the whole COVID thing, and then all that other stuff layered on top of it. You're isolated from your families and your friends. You can't, all the stuff that normally helps us boost our mood. whether it's going to the gym on a regular basis, all those various things that we do to boost our mood, to maintain our emotional health. That's the word I was looking for. And to maintain our emotional health so we don't slip into mental health issues are now not as readily available. And so it's even more important that those things we do for ourselves, we still do for ourselves. So, take the time. I know I've been noticing that I've been letting mine slip. I haven't been doing all my personal cares things. I haven't been doing the meditations and everything that I've been needing to do, simply because you don't think you need it. I haven't done anything today. Well, that's not true. I have. You just don't view it as doing anything today because I never leave my damn office anymore. And so, you don't feel like you're accomplishing much, even though you actually are. And so it can help. And you've got this already oppressive world around you, and it just helps feed into that. And so my point is your much needed self-care is much needed. And all of us, including those of us who have a habit of being mindful, need to be extra mindful. We need to be extra careful. We all need to take some more time to care for ourselves. Be selfish, because you're no good to the people around you if you're no good to yourself. If you run yourself into the ground, you can't help those you love. And so caring for yourself is an act of love for those you love. And you can hope that those around you do the same thing. If you give them the freedom to care for themselves, they will be in better position to care for you. That's how these things work. It's kind of counterintuitive, but it's true. The better human being you are, the more capable of giving proper love and the proper interactions in the world. So it's the much needed self-care is much needed these days. And take the time, spend the extra energy, spend the extra thought cycles, and
make the effort.
Yeah, it'll be well worth it.
Yes.
It'll be well worth it in 3-4 months. And it's not easy to see 3-4 months from now, but it'll get here faster than we all think. So, it's not just the next 3 weeks we have to get through. It's the next 3 months, the next 6 months, the next year and a half. And you need to keep yourself mentally in shape. Because, mentally in shape may be more important than being physically in shape right now. Because your body follows your mind. Okay. So what else we got? Reconnect with loved ones.
Bake cookies to share with friends and neighbors. I usually do that, but I'm not doing that this year. I'm going low key. What I like about on this list is enjoy a living room picnic, host a movie marathon of all your favorites for the family, eat dinner by candlelight, and I love this one. Write a love letter. I think I'm going to write you a love letter.
But then I have to read it.
You poor thing.
Plan a virtual game night. Now, see, the last one is actually a good idea. It is to plan a virtual, maybe that's something we should get with my mother about on Christmas. And rather than having everybody get together and go for Christmas breakfast, we get together and we do we find some goofy math game that we play, words with friends, or Scrabble or Yahtzee or something online, something we could all kind of sit around and spend a half hour, 45 minutes playing and having fun. I think that might actually be something interesting to do. The game itself is not really relevant, what game you choose, whether you can pool or it doesn't matter what the hell the game is. It's the fact that you're all sitting around laughing and having a good time with each other at the same time. Is it the same? No, not even close, but it's better than nothing.
Yes, it is. It's that connection.
Some connection is better than no connection. And I think that's take what opportunities. I think maybe that's the lesson in that little section right there, is to take what opportunities you can to reconnect. Doesn't matter what it is. Find some way to reconnect. sending a letter, send an old-fashioned letter. It's one way. Do more video chatting, get in playing, play cards with your family online instead of, if you used to get around and play Pinochle or something with your group. Well, you can still get around together and play Pinochle. You just have to do it around your computer screens instead of the kitchen table. Is it the same? No, but is it better than nothing?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Maybe it's dominoes. Whatever it is you play, there's free online versions available where you can just go and play and just have a good time. It doesn't cost anything other than your internet connection, and most of us have those. If you're listening to us now, you've got one, whether it's on your phone or whether you've got internet. And so, use it. We have these wonderful tools. And is it the same? No. Is it good enough? No. But it's better than not. Finding some connection is better than sitting in your dark feeling sorry for ourselves, which sadly far too many of us are doing. The suicide rates have a tendency to tick up during the holiday seasons anyway, and they're skyrocketing these days. And so it's more important than ever that we reach out to those who are disconnected, those who we know have trouble with connections and disconnected. Who knows? That game of dominoes or online pool or whatever it is may prevent someone from going to a dark spot. You're not going to save somebody like that who's in a dark spot, but you may prevent somebody from going to a dark spot. You may prevent someone. You'll never know. They'll never know. Nobody will ever know because you don't know. That kind of prevention is untraceable because you can't trace what doesn't happen.
Right.
You can't go back and say, oh, well, that move prevented it. Because you don't know, because you didn't go down that path, so you never know. So find some way to reconnect, I think is a good answer. It doesn't matter how you do it, whether it's Facebook portal, whether it's video games. A lot of video games are interactive, and you can chat and you can play with your video games, play cards, talk on the phone, whatever it is you need to do. Just reconnect with people you need to reconnect with. A lesson I should learn. Okay, so what we got next?
Well, our last section is try something new. Take an online cooking class. That sounds exciting. Pick up a new hobby. Encourage a amaryllis bulb or other flowering plant to bloom. I do not have a green thumb. Start some seedlings. I'm good at starting seedlings, though. I can do that.
Well, if we want to get a little thing, if you wanted to grow indoor tomatoes, now is the time to start them.
Oh, there we go.
Just we're going to call them indoor tomatoes to keep it family friendly. That's what we used to have to call it back in the day. We used to have to say we're growing indoor tomatoes. Life is so much different now than it was even 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it was indoor tomatoes. Anyway, that's just hilarious. Okay.
You can host a virtual book club. And I don't like this one. Stick to New Year's resolutions.
Well, I don't do New Year's resolutions.
I don't do New Year's resolutions either.
I don't need the New Year to tell me when I need to change. I
do set some goals, but they're not, I wouldn't consider them resolutions.
I spend the last week of the year with a bit of reflection, but I'd spend so much time in reflection anyway that it's not, I suppose this year I haven't, in the last month or so, I haven't spent much time in personal reflection, so I'll have something to reflect over. I've had a lot going on this year, so maybe I will. But as a rule of thumb, I spend the last week of the year with some reflections, and it's kind of it. I don't really plan for the next year because my next months are already planned out long before the New Year's gets there.
Really?
Yeah. Well, my next 3 months are already done. So there's not much to, wing and prayer and hope, I guess, that all this works. But I guess what? Our online cooking class, taking an online class, whether it's cooking or psychology or whatever, that's probably a good idea. Online college is actually cheap. They're not expensive, and if you still have FAFSA available, you can actually get a degree online. If you're stuck in the house, you might as well go do it. Something like Western Governors University, your FAFSA covers almost all of the cost. And so, I would strongly encourage, if you're just going to be sitting home, educate yourself. One way or another, whether you do it through a university or go to, one of those YouTube classes and just go spend the next, 6 weeks or whatever it is, watching psychology lectures. It's like sitting in on a class at Princeton. You can sit in on a class. There's some teachers who put all their classes online, and so you can take a class without getting credit for it. You can go to Princeton University and sit in any class for free.
Shut up.
Yeah. As long as the professor doesn't mind you being there, you can ask, hey, can you mind if I sit in? Yeah. They won't charge you. Now, you won't get a test. You don't get tested. You don't get your
credit.
You don't get credit. You don't get graded. Well, the professor may grade you, but it doesn't count towards anything except the fact that you'll be educated. You just won't have a piece of paper. So at Princeton, what you're actually buying is the piece of paper.
Uh-huh.
You can actually go in and get the same education for nothing. You just don't have the piece of paper that says I went to college at Princeton, graduated from Princeton. It's an interesting thing. So it's someone who's more educated. So who's more educated? The person who went through Princeton without paying the money, or the person who went through Princeton and paid the money? I actually say the smarter person is the one who went through Princeton and didn't pay anything. He's got the same education, and he's going to be able to use it. Now, he won't be able to go to some big firm and say, here's my degree, hire me. But if his goal was to start his own business, to start their own business, or to improve the family business or something, he just needed the education. He didn't need the piece of paper. And that piece of paper is not as valuable as we used to think. Google, Apple, Facebook, they no longer require a degree. In fact, they're actually looking for people to pull people out of college before they get their computer programming degrees, because the schools are now, they actually teach creativity out of the students. Google would rather train someone who's smart than take someone who's been trained in school and have to retrain them how to actually work in the real world. Because in a sense, what school does, what the schools are doing right now in terms of technology, is they teach you what you can't do. And they want Google and all these technology companies, they don't want people to know what they can't do. They want them to do the impossible. And if you've been trained, you get trained how to do something, but you get trained out of how to, there's a side effect of that, is now you don't know, you become trained to do that box, to fit in that box. You're now in that box. But these technology companies need you to be outside of the box. They need you to think outside of the box. We already know how to write that language. We don't need more people to write the language. We need people who invent the next language.
Right.
And you can't train people through that through the education system. You train people through that by throwing problems at him and letting smart people try to figure it out. And they're going to fail a lot, but when they succeed, they will succeed massively. And so that's what they're doing. Now, I'm not saying there's no value in going to school and getting your programming degree or whatever it is, because if you want to get like a government job or a government contractor job, there's lots of those things. But if you really wanted to change the world, you don't do it with your degree. Zuckerberg doesn't have a degree. Bill Gates never finished his college degree. None of these people who started these tech companies had degrees in programming. They were great programmers. They invented the freaking programming languages of today. They couldn't be educated. They had some basic education, but you went back 2.5, almost 3 years in, and then they went off and did their thing before they learned too much. But they were looking for something different. They didn't want to become a cog in a wheel. And so that's why they didn't finish. They went off and did their own thing. But you have to know what you want. And if you are a cog in a wheel, then be a cog in a wheel. Enjoy it. You know, there's lots of people who just want to be a cog in a wheel. They want to go someplace, do their job, go home. You don't want to do anything else. You don't want to change the world. You just want to live their quiet life. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But there's also nothing wrong with wanting to change the world and wanting to be a type A personality who runs around. And, you know, we need both. We need the Mark Zuckerbergs and the Bill Gates of the world. But we also need, you know, the Jane Does and the Bob Smiths of the world. The world can't function without both of them. You know, we need people who can change the world, and we need people to make the world work as it is. Yeah, you know, during this time of uncertainty, I think maybe we should be more appreciative that how much of the world actually works. I mean, all of us have trials and tribulations through life. None of us get out of this life alone. I mean, without scars. We all none of us get buried unscarred. None of us have times in our lives that are easy, but yet the lights come on. The foods are full, the stores are full of food. We have clean water. We have all the things of life actually work. It's a wondrous thing because society is full of broken people. We've all been broken. Every single one of us. Not a single one of us has gotten through life without having to experience trauma. How many of us even get through to adulthood without experiencing trauma? It doesn't happen.
Right.
And so the fact is that we're all somehow functional enough that we have freaking electricity when we want it. We have freaking water, clean water, when we turn on our taps. We are so lucky, and we so take it for granted. We flip on the lights without even thinking about all the people and all the issues and how much struggle and resources and how we're put into that. We don't even think about the guy who's out there right now in this cold windstorm making sure those lines are working so we can have lights. We don't even think about it. I was listening to this story about there was the electric company, and they had this crew out, people out going to fix their and there was a storm, and they had this crew, and this crew had two people who were both disabled working on it. It's normally something they were doing. I forget what the task they were doing, but it was something normally one person could do. But one guy had gotten hurt in an accident, and another guy had something was wrong with him. So they said, hey, together they can go off and they can manage to fix it. One guy missing an arm, the other guy couldn't see or had missing an eye. But together, individually they couldn't do the job, but together they could manage to go out into a storm and fix electrical problems. Right? They couldn't do it. And for us, the lights come on. And we don't even think about that. But here you got these two people who have gone through hellish experiences. They're literally broken people, but yet they're out there fixing lights, fixing electricity, so yours and my lights can come on. And that happens all day, every day. And we don't appreciate that as people. We take it for granted. Not intentionally. We don't intentionally take it for granted. We're not unkind people. It's just our daily lives take up so much of our thought that we take for granted the simple things that aren't so simple. You know, lights coming on, clean water, food on the shelves of the grocery store. Those aren't simple things, but we all view them as simple. They're all insanely complicated. Getting your ear of corn from the farmer to your shelves at Walmart is actually quite complicated, but yet it happens every day. It happens so much every day that we take it for granted. And we do that all throughout all of our lives, throughout every aspect of our life. Part of it's realistic, right? We can't be thankful of everything all the time. You'd be prostrated yourself all the time to be of thankfulness. But we can at these times of the year when we are having troubles in society, and that time of year where we are thankful and reminiscing on past experiences, shall we say, that we do take the time to be thankful for those little things that we don't think about. Because as we were talking about earlier, romance is the daily grind. It's the little things. It's those things that make you work. Those are the things that make your relationships work. Those are the things that generally fulfill you. It's not the big gestures. It's the little daily grind. We were talking about all these little things you can do to get through these difficult times, get through this holiday season as we're all disconnected from those we love and we care about, and our traditions are all disrupted. All that is tied together. We need more love in this world. And that only happens by actively putting more love into this world. We can't do it any other way. Love doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from our hearts, from our souls. It comes from our actions. It comes from who we are. And it is time for all of us just to be a little more loving, be a little more kind, be more compassionate. And that includes to yourself. And we are going to close out of here a little early tonight. We thank you all for joining us. Please remember, you can go and catch us and support our journey here at patreon.com/late night love. For $3 a month, you can access to the Discord server. For $5 a month, you get early access to, I think, the late night live videos. I'm going to have to memorize these things. Anyway, there's 4 tiers. Join us if you can. We appreciate all the help, especially during this time that it is so difficult for everybody. Please take care of yourselves. We will see you next week. It is our Christmas show next week, right? Because we won't be doing one. And next week will have to be our Christmas show.
Next week will have to be our Christmas show.
So next week is our Christmas show, which will be followed the week after with our New Year's Eve show, isn't it?
Yes.
So that should be fun. The next couple of weeks should be interesting. We'll see what we come up with. And thank you for joining us on this journey through the stream of consciousness, down the river of love, towards the sea of tranquility. From Jazz and Lubby, thank you for being here.
Thank
we will
you.
see you next week. And